Oh, this is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now the G20 is having the theme of their meeting is shared growth beyond crisis. Now Bob, how can they take care of share the growth in this crisis?
Well, what they can do is share the growth in crisis is what they can do is get more fertilizer in different places so they can share the growth by investing into like stock foreign places and stock market and stuff. And that's why they can invest it even more.
Now, how can G20 leaders ensure the balance of sustainable growth while dealing with the world's current problems?
Well, the world's current problem is we need to stop spending too much big budget and less spending and more investing. That's what they should do.
Now, how can they fight climate change while still encouraging global growth and trade?
What they can do is, Farmers see different growth and trade is, what they can do is invest in money into clean air environment to stop the environment of the clean air pollution of our ozone layer so we can have better clean air all over the globe and nation. And that way they can invest more. And also you can invest into a lot of solar panels too.
Now how can they reduce market volatility and foster economic growth and avoid political infighting?
What they do is be for the people, by the people, so we can be the people. That's how we can fight it.
What financial regulatory reform can they implement to address corporate corruption and other business issues?
In corporate business is what they do. They need to cut. Like I said, they need to cut back on spending and investing a lot of other countries. When the countries need to start merging together to make more companies bigger. So that way it stops all that other polluted stuff into the corporation.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the leaders at the G20 summit ahead of this meeting?
Yes, try to do a lot of investment, guys, because we need you guys' help to do a lot of investment to make a lot of economic growth in America, okay? So, and also get into some foreign investments too as well, and they can bring back into America so we can build up this place.
Now the G20 is having their finance meeting, and their theme of their meeting is shared growth beyond crisis. Now Spidey, how can they share the growth in this current crisis?
They can't. It's just not possible. It's all talk.
How can G20 leaders ensure a balanced, sustainable growth while dealing with the world's current problems?
They can't. It's not possible. I don't believe anything that the G Summit will have any effect on the economy of the world whatsoever.
How can they fight climate change and encourage global trade and growth?
Climate change, everybody has to start walking everywhere. That's it. Don't drive, don't do anything.
Now, how can they reduce market volatility and foster economic growth while avoiding political infighting?
They can't. Another thing that just won't happen. That's Spider-Man's view.
Now, what financial regulatory reform can they implement to address these corporate and business issues?
I have no idea. Everything's so messed up, Spider-Man just is not sure.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the leaders?
Do something, for Christ's sake. We're all dying out here.
Now the G20 finance meeting is going on, and the theme of their meeting is shared growth beyond crisis. Now, Catwoman, how can they share the growth and go beyond this crisis that we're currently in?
They need to have more employment, more people employed. It's just getting worse and worse, the recession and everything. Stores are going out of business. It's just terrible. The government needs to really get involved, especially in the state of California, where it's hitting us the hardest.
Now, how can G20 leaders ensure balanced, sustainable growth while dealing with the world's current problems?
The world's got a lot of current problems to deal with. They should deal with the problems in their own country first before they're dealing with the problems that are occurring in outside countries. We got enough trouble here first to take care of before they go helping other people.
How can they fight climate change and still encourage global growth and trade?
Oh, that's a tough one. Climate change is Mother Nature. So, I mean, they could just start helping with the pollution problem, the recycling, doing all that kind of stuff to try to help it. But Mother Nature, I mean, she takes control. So we can just do what we can and hope that she's nice to us.
How can they cut down on market volatility and still encourage growth without political infighting?
I think that they should start actually spending some money supplementing local businesses, encouraging people to, open their own businesses, and really start taking more initiative in what's going on here. And instead of businesses going out of business, they should be, reducing their rents or doing whatever they can to help them stay open, and encouraging the people to actually, come to California, come spend money, have a good time.
And what financial regulatory reform can they implement to address corporate corruption and other business issues?
Go after all the people who are scamming money from individuals and businesses, and all the illegal businesses who are taking advantage of people. That's what they can do, because there are many of them out there.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the G20 leaders ahead of this meeting?
Yes, please do something about the situation in California, and we'll greatly appreciate it, and so will everyone else.
Now, the G20 finance ministers are meeting in Seoul, Korea, and the theme of their meeting is shared growth beyond crisis. Now, we're here with Superman asking him, how can we share the growth in this current crisis?
Sharing the growth, I say, if we've got something good going on, we can share it with another country and tell them how we got out of certain situations that we've ended up in, such as economical downcline. Turning it around and making it work for you. Stuff like that. We found ways to come out of depression, like back in the 20s. We were in a major depression, and we found loopholes to get out of it. That is something that we can share with other countries and other people that are going through the same thing that we went through. And as for growth, I think everybody grows every day, and I think that a part of growth is learning to deal with people. We all have to live on this planet together, and instead of fighting each other, we should be working with each other.
How can G20 leaders encourage balanced, sustainable growth while dealing with the world's current problems?
I don't see any possibility for that, but what I do see a possibility of is the fact that you got to clean your own backyard before you go over and try to clean someone else's.
Now, they also want to know, how can they fight climate change and yet still encourage global trade and growth?
We need to find stuff that's safe to the planet. Basically, the climate changes and stuff like that, that's due to the fact that we are ruining our ozone layer. If we find safe and sufficient means of power, ways to run some of these factories, even, stuff that will reduce the smog that's being exited out of some of these factories and stuff, because a lot of that stuff is polluting our ozone layer, and when you put the pollution out there, it eats away at the ozone layer, thinning it out and giving us the bad weather and climate changes that we've been having.
Now, how can they reduce market volatility and still foster economic growth while avoiding political infighting?
By finding cheaper ways to grow the crops. If you find a cheaper way to grow the crops, use natural pesticides and stuff like that. I say that if you find a cheaper way to grow something, then you're going to find a cheaper way to put it out there for the people to buy.
Now, what financial regulatory reform can they implement to address corporate corruption and other business issues?
Corporate corruption? I do not like that word, corruption. I say that they need to go through their companies with a fine-tooth comb and weed out all that corruption, because corporate businesses do not need corruption.
So in closing, ahead of this G20 Financial Summit, is there anything you'd like to say to the leaders at this summit?
I would like to say, keep it clean, keep it honest, and keep it safe.